Hi everyone and welcome back.
Thanks, it's good to be back. I was away last week. Well,
I was away, you were still here. Alright, so if you're new here, we talk every week about ways to save money, to budget, and how to live your life more abundantly so that you can enjoy what you have.
yeah, it's all about being happy and finding that peace of mind and happiness in your life.
Yeah. So this week's a bit different. We're going to be talking not so much focus on money, but we're going to be talking about the 5 life lessons that we have learned that changed our life, and hopefully they'll be able to change your life as well.
For the better.
For the better, yeah. The first lesson that we've learned is that sometimes you just need to change your mindset.
There's an awesome quote that I've heard, and it goes like this. It says, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've already got. Basically that means if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, your life situation isn't really going to change that much. You're always going to have the same things, same results, same outcomes. So if you want to look for something better, look for some improvement in your life, then you're going to have to do something different.
Yeah. A few months ago, well, probably about a year ago, our daughter Lily has anxiety sometimes, and someone suggested to us to get the Big Life Journal products, and these are like a growth mindset kind of curriculum or products. You can get printables, and there's also a book, a journal. So we started doing these, and it was really eye-opening, and it was uncomfortable for me because it talked about how you can do what you want to do, and that failure is not a bad thing. Failure is actually a really good thing because you learn from failure. Failure helps you to grow, it helps you become a better person. So don't be scared to change what you're doing and that you might fail, because you always learn from failure. You're never gonna not learn anything from failing. It also talks about how you can change your mindset to be able to open yourself up to possibilities that you didn't think were even possible for yourself. Whether that's making a lot of income, or whether it's buying a house, or just anything that you want to do. Don't limit yourself to your own fixed mind about what you think you're capable of. There's not many things that I'm going to recommend that you buy on this channel, but the Big Life Journal products are definitely one of them, especially for your children. I'll leave a link down below to go and check it out, but definitely have a look into it because it's not just for children. Do it with your children and your mind will be blown. It's really, really good, and it's changed our family, our whole family, for the better, in changing our mindset about what we're actually capable of.
Right, life lesson number 2, and this was a tough lesson that we learned together.
Really tough.
Alright, and it is that no successes will come without sacrifice.
So we thought we'd share a bit of our story about when we first moved to Australia. We were like just newly married, and we had not very much money to our name, but we moved with the suitcase, and that was pretty much it. And we came to Brisbane first, and we didn't have a real stable job. Adahi couldn't find a good stable job, and neither could I, and I ended up getting pregnant. We were told that we couldn't have kids, that it would be difficult, we'd need to do IVF or something like that, but lo and behold, Oran was our little miracle, but we weren't prepared in the slightest. And so we were relying on other people to help support us by offering us dinner at their house or things like that. We had living on family's floor, and that was really difficult time as well.
Yeah, definitely. We had to give up a few things that we might have liked to have had, just to make those sacrifices, because we simply couldn't have it. We couldn't have those things.
Back in New Zealand, Adahi had a good stable job. I was at uni, I was doing my postgraduate. We could have stayed and we could have been okay, but it wasn't looking like the life that we wanted, to be honest. Back in New Zealand, we didn't think we would be able to have just one person stay at home, which was what we ideally wanted to do. And we thought we had to pay for IVF, so we needed a lot of money. But then we got a better job opportunity through my uncle up here in Melbourne, so we packed up the car with all our belongings, which was just our suitcases again, and we headed to Melbourne.
Right, so we packed up our belongings. It all managed to fit inside our little car.
I think we just bought like a dinner set. That was all that we bought in that whole period of time.
And yeah, we drove down here to Melbourne. We stayed with your uncle for a bit.
Yeah.
Before we could save up a bit of money to be able to move into our own place and rent our own place, which was not in a fancy suburb, by any stretch of the imagination.
If you're from Melbourne, we lived in Broadmeadows.
Yeah, and it has a bit of a bad reputation for being a shady suburb, I guess.
The ghetto.
Broad ghettos, as I like to call it.
Yeah. But we had no problems. We lived there for 7 years and nicest people and didn't have a problem at all.
But yeah, we stayed in a house that didn't have a lot of the trimmings, I guess.
Yeah. It had an oven that didn't shut properly. It only had 2 burners on the stove and one of them didn't work. The drawers didn't close properly.
When it rained really hard, it leaked through the roof in some places.
Didn't have air conditioning. It was not the greatest house, but it served its purpose.
Yeah, and it wasn't too expensive as well. It was quite cheap. And we managed, because of those sacrifices that we made of not having those things, we were able to save up money fast to be able to buy our own house eventually.
Yeah, we could have afforded to live in a better suburb and a better house and stuff, but we would not have been able to save the money to have our own house. The ultimate goal for us was that we wanted our own house in a nice suburb and to be able to still afford to go and spend time overseas and travel, and we really wanted to have one parent be able to stay at home because we homeschool our kids, and that was really important to us. Alright, life lesson number 3, stop comparing yourself to the Joneses. There's always going to be someone that is better than you. You can't keep comparing yourself and thinking, oh, I'll be happy once I have this, once I have that. I remember living in our little house that had a broken oven and a broken drawers and stuff like that, and I kept saying to myself, I'll be happy when I get the kitchen that I want. And ultimately, yeah, I was happy when I got the kitchen that I wanted, but there's still stuff that I'd want in my kitchen. I'd like a bigger pantry, I'd like this, I'd like that, but that's not going to do me any good, just wanting it and comparing myself to somebody else's kitchen or somebody else's life. Comparison is a thief of joy. If you cannot find joy in where you are, you're never going to be happy. There's always going to be something that you're wanting, and it's just not going to be good for your life.
Alright, and that brings us to life lesson number 4, which is no matter where you come from in life, whether you start off from very humble beginnings, like we did, don't write yourself off. You can definitely make changes and improvements to the situation that you're in, wherever you are in life. For example, both of us come from pretty humble families, pretty humble beginnings. Like myself, I come from a family of 9 children, so you can imagine what life must have been like for our parents, I guess, trying to provide for us.
Yeah.
I only really remember my dad having a job, having work, providing for us, all of us as a family. My mum worked occasionally as I got a bit older, but yeah, our main income was just from our dad, and it wasn't a very big income either. He was a teacher, and yeah, teachers in New Zealand, if you know about teaching in New Zealand, they don't get paid as well as they probably should.
Yeah.
And it's pretty similar for Candice as well.
Yeah. My mum was a single mum for most of my life. And then she decided when she was in her 30s, she was working pretty much on minimum wage before that at the same job that she started when she was probably about 17, I think. But she decided when she was in her early 30s, I think, that she was going to go back to uni. And because she finished school when she was 15, she went and got married because, you know, teenage minds, that seems like a good idea. So she finished school when she was 15 and she didn't feel that she was super intelligent or anything. So she went back and started like a course, like a bridging kind of course, because she wanted to be a midwife. So she did this course and she had me, and I would go with her up to the UCOL computer labs because we didn't have a computer at home. So we would go up to the computer labs after she finished her day job, and I would sit with her until like midnight sometimes while she did her assignments, and I'll sit on the computers. I don't know what I did, but that's what we would do for that whole year. And then she went on to start her actual degree, and she did really, really well. In that time, she actually got married to my stepdad, and he brought with him 3 kids, and then they adopted another kid from foster care, so that made 5 of us. And my mum wasn't working anymore. She was finishing her last year of study, which required a lot of placements, so she couldn't work. And she just struggled right through it, and they had 5 kids. We were all teenagers by then, and that cost a lot of money to feed, and they just did it. And you know what, it was such a struggle for the longest time. I remember yeah, it was really, really hard, and she just did it, and I'm so proud of her for the effort that she did, because you know what? Now she earns a heck of a lot of money, and she is an amazing midwife. If you ever need to have a baby, she is your person. I don't want her as my midwife because it creeps me out that she's like super nice and has her midwife voice on. But if you want a good midwife, she's your lady. But yeah, so she made all those sacrifices, and it was uncomfortable. And I mean, we lived in state housing. We had to live with other people. We just to make ends meet and sort of thing. It goes back to the lesson before about how you can't get ahead if you're not willing to put in the sacrifice or make the sacrifice.
Definitely. But in the end, things turned out, as you can see, things turned out pretty well for both of us. Even though we came from humble beginnings, we're in a pretty good position now.
Yeah. So just because maybe you've been on a benefit or government support, or your parents have been on government support, and that's just how it's been in your family for generations, does not mean that that has to be the way that your life is going to go as well. If you want to change your life, get up and do something about it. Don't just keep living in the cycle. If you want to break the cycle, break the cycle. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be so many sacrifices, but it'll be worth it in the end. You might have to move out of like a big city. You might have to move to a smaller city to be in a more affordable accommodation. You might want to have to move overseas like we did. We would never have been able to get into this position had we not left New Zealand. It just would not have been possible. We went back to I was just back in New Zealand, and I can't believe how expensive it is to live there, especially if you're living in Auckland.
Alright, our last lesson for today is to surround yourself with people who are going to be good influences and encourage you in your life and in your goals and in your ambitions.
Yeah. You want people who are going to build you up and not mock you or laugh at you for trying to do better. Find people who are further ahead in their journey than you are and ask them their advice. Look at videos on YouTube for people who are doing what you want to do, because they're the ones who are going to inspire you, and they're going to lift you up and give you the motivation to go on when things get tough, because things do get tough. I mean, it's never easy sailing when you're trying to do something different.
Yeah, and in the same vein, I guess, cut people out of your life who are dragging you down. You don't need that extra weight on your shoulders. So yeah, it may require you to make some sacrifices in that area as well.
Yeah, distance yourself from people who are bringing you down, or who are bad influences on you, and things like that. Alright, so those are our 5 life lessons that we have learned. Some of them were hard lessons for us to learn, but we're so glad that we have been through what we've been through, because it has made us stronger people, it's made us stronger as a couple, and it's made our family what it is today. Join us next week, and we're going to talk to you about our 5 worst financial decisions that we've made. Adahi has just one, and it's not really that big at all, but I've got a fair few because he's my money genius.
Yeah, sure.
Alright, thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you next week. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and we will,
Thanks for being with us.